Max Verstappen has wrapped up the Drivers' World Championship 2022, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing to attract your attention in Formula One in the final few races of the season. We are at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and Texas does everything bigger, bolder, and better than perhaps anywhere else on the planet, or at least they will argue that. So what will around 400,000 people who are expected to be in attendance this weekend have to keep their eyes on? Here at GPFans, this is everything you need to be watching when it comes to the American Grand Prix this weekend. Yes, Max Verstappen wrapped up the Drivers' World Championship last weekend in Japan in, well, peculiar fashion. But Red Bull will have kept a few bottles of champagne uncorked for perhaps the Constructors' title party. With a 165-point lead over Ferrari, the Constructors' Championship can be wrapped up this Sunday. Red Bull Racing will need a 147-point advantage leaving Texas once the weekend is done and dusted, which means that a win for either Sergio Perez or Max Verstappen will be enough to lock up the Constructors' title. If Ferrari seizes a 1-2 punch atop the podium and records perhaps the fastest lap, Red Bull Racing will still have enough with a 3rd and 4th place finish to be able to wrap up the Constructors' title. So there are numerous possibilities that see Red Bull crowned Constructors' champions this weekend. Although the Drivers' World Championship is done and dusted and the title fight is well and truly over, the battle for second place in the Drivers' Championship is still very exciting. Now, Sergio Perez passed Charles Leclerc to take second place from the Ferrari driver at Suzuka last weekend, but the difference between the two is only 1 point. With 4 races to go then, a duel for the honorary title of second best in the championship, some people might remember it later on down the line, is still very much on the cards. Now, way back in March, especially for Charles Leclerc, the goal wouldn't have been a second place finish in the Drivers' World Championship, but considering how quickly Verstappen has wrapped up the main title, finishing second is still super important to the Ferrari man and his team, so expect some fantastic battles between these two over the final few races, especially at the Circuit of the Americas. At Red Bull Racing, however, it's not been all celebrations since Japan, quite clearly. The FIA released the teams in 2021 that broke the financial budget cap, and Red Bull Racing was the only one to have committed a minor breach of that cap, expected to be under $5 million US, but still over the $145 million budget cap ceiling. Now, Aston Martin, like Red Bull, has been found guilty of a procedural breach, which means that something went wrong when they handed in their paperwork. The FIA has not made any statements about what penalties will follow for either constructor, but undoubtedly this is going to be a big topic of discussion in the paddock this week. For the Americans in the stands, there's going to be an extra reason to clap, cheer, wave those cowboy hats and whatever else they like to do in Texas. For the first time in years, let alone on American soil, a driver from the USA is taking part in an official F1 session. Logan Sargent will make his debut in a Williams during the first free practice session as one of the mandatory rookies that the team must use this season. The 21-year-old is currently in Formula 2, sat 3rd in the standings, but is regularly linked to the premier class of motorsport. Spanish IndyCar driver Alex Palou, meanwhile, will take a seat in Danny Ricciardo's McLaren for one of the practice sessions this weekend, although Ricciardo will be back for the remainder of this weekend, even if he's not going to be back in Formula 1 for next season. With a big old time difference between London and Austin, Texas, get ready for some very late evenings indeed this weekend. For example, the first free practice session and second free practice session on Friday will take place at around 8 PM UK time and 11 PM UK time. On Saturday, the same times will be used when it comes to qualifying and third free practice as well, and the Grand Prix itself will start at 8 PM on Sunday. Furthermore, dry and warm weather conditions are to be expected, which is also nice, I guess, after the rain that we had in Singapore and Japan that caused so many problems. So that's everything you need to know about the American Grand Prix this weekend. Anything we missed out, let us know in the comments section below, and gpfans.com for all the news across this weekend.